Howdy, howdy, howdy. I'm Stephen Grenade. Let's play some interactive fiction. Today, we're going to be playing through Animalia by Ian Michael Waddell. It was the third place winner in the 2018 interactive fiction competition. The previous games that I've been streaming have all been parser-based, so they've had me typing away on a keyboard like Keyboard Cat to enter commands. This is a choice-based game where we will be selecting commands, selecting options and links by clicking on them. So it's a little bit of a different approach. As I believe I mentioned in some of the prep, Animalia is a game in which we are going to be a bunch of forest animals pretending to be an ordinary human child. So let's get at it. Animalia by Ian Michael Waddell. We'll start with a new game. It's late. The animals, bleary and confused, emerged from their respective corners of the forest into the great meeting place. Speculation had been rampant. Why had this emergency summit been called? Hadn't everyone agreed this year's festival had been a huge success? I don't get it, a vole says. This year's festival had the least interspecies predation yet, so I can already tell this is going to be one of those games with, animal death. A confused badger clears their throat. I don't believe this could be about territory. I felt as though the excellent presentation on scent marking could have negated any disputes. And someone would have reported any humans, right? A sleepy cardinal chimes in from a nearby branch. Everyone falls silent. Crashing through the foliage, the leaders of the Taiga Council, Hank the bear, Deborah the moose, and Stumpy the wolf, arrive, calling the delegates to attention. Thank you for coming on such late notice, Hank says. Hank speaks as all bears speak, low, smooth, and authoritative, like an arboreal trombone. All right, I love that line. And I would like to personally thank you all once more for your exemplary contributions to this year's festival. However, Deborah, the moose, says, we have a serious problem. Hank frowns. Yes, a problem with this year's offering. A furor erupts. Hank raises a paw for silence, but the prospect of a bad omen jolts the animals to their cores. This year's offering was easily the best we've had, a gopher says, straining to be heard. He was plump, vigorous, enthusiastic, everything the forest god would want. I think I see why we're going to have to pretend to be a human child. The virility of the offering is not in question, Deborah says, hoofing the dirt in consternation. We believe the forest god was, and is, pleased with our selection. The problem is with this. They turn to Stumpy, the wolf. Stumpy has something in their mouth. They toss it without a word into the throng of delegates who circle around it. It starts vibrating. The animals jump back. This device was found in the offering's clothing, Hank says. It appears to be some form of communication device. Preliminary research of this device suggests that the offering's name was Charlie Stewart, Hank says. When Charlie was chosen, we were unaware that he was carrying this device with him. And now, it seems as though... Stumpy walks over to the device and begins touching it with their claw. A human's voice is heard. Charlie, honey, you forgot your toothbrush again. I know you don't want me to show up at Martin's house to drop it off, so please come home tomorrow morning so you can brush your teeth, okay? Love you, honey. This is going to go well. So what? Says an exasperated lynx from the back of the crowd. So the offering's mother is expecting him. Who cares? There's nothing anyone can do about that now. Bum, bum, bum. Perhaps not, says Hank, but listen to this. Stumpy touches the device again with their claw. The human woman's voice again plays from the device, but this time with an added urgency. Charlie, honey, it's 11 p.m. and your GPS is telling me you and Martin are in the woods? Does Martin's parents know you're there? What are you doing out there so late? There's a pause, a deep breath. You must have just lost your phone or something. If you find it, please call me, okay? The animals panic almost in unison. They squawk, squeak, chitter, bleat, Mule and Growl, casting accusations at each other like stones until Hank stands on their hind legs and roars. "Silence," they blurt. "Yes, the human suspicions have been raised. Yes, they know where to start looking. And yes, if they determine that we have chosen young Charlie Stewart as our offering, they will turn to us as their first suspects." "We're doomed!" screamed a young Robin. Their eyes look skyward towards their emergency exit. "We're not doomed," Deborah says. "We still have a chance. It is important to remember that the humans do not know that Charlie Stewart has been offered to the forest god. And in fact, we do have a contingency plan." Stumpy walks over to a nearby shrub, grabs something in their jaws, and places it in front of the throng of animals. They jump back. "It's the offering," gasps a cougar. "Close," Deborah says, smiling with a motherly glint in their eye. "We have constructed an exact replica of the offering." Excellent. "We think we can use this replica to distract the humans away from the forest and buy us some time. Fully lifelike and perfectly proportioned, it looks, sounds, and smells the part." A fox walks to the replica and sniffs it with trepidation. The replica looks exactly like Charlie Stewart, down to the dandruff scalp, sunburnt ears, and grubby hands. His smile is wide but fixed, his eyes bright but unblinking. Something's not quite right. The fox, unsettled, takes an instinctive swipe at Charlie's hand. The whole replica collapses into itself, and the animals startle. Stumpy walks over to a nearby shrub, grabs something in their jaws, and places it in front of the throng of animals. They jump back. "Oh, sorry." "With one catch," Hank says with a sigh, "we will need a crack team of brave, loyal Taiga members to occupy the suit, pose as Charlie, and reintegrate into human society until we have time to formulate a new strategy." The animals look at each other as if they've just met their 9-year-old executioner. Deborah steps forward and sets the replica upright. "It may look tight, but for optimal reintegration of the replica, 4 animals will need to occupy the suit. I foresee no way in which this goes wrong." A porcupine speaks up. "Can we talk about this at all?" they say, aggrieved. "Don't we feel as though with all the advances we've made since we founded the council, that the offering is an outdated concept? That maybe the cooperation we've fostered and the prosperity we hold so dear comes as a result of our mutual understanding, our mutual goals, our mutual communication, our mutual care, and not some human kid we have to offer up to our god?" The delegates are silent. "Death!" bellows Hank. "Instant death!" The porcupine is carried away without a second thought. Indeed, animal death. Deborah continues. The bludgeoning of a nearby porcupine is ignored by the delegates. "The head will be responsible for vocal communication, socialization, fraternization, and situational and tactical analysis. They will serve as the commander of the operation and as such will be most responsible for successful reintegration. With the gravity and responsibility of such a position in mind, we have chosen, all right, here's our first choice, Horseradish, an owl with impeccable linguistic and communicative faculties. Chunks, a magpie who has spent significant time amongst humans and is known for their forthrightness and cunning. And Sprinkles, a finch known for their affability and friendliness. Any suggestions in chat about which animal we should put in charge of this operation? I'll take a drink of water while you're thinking about that. Got to vote for Sprinkles. A finch. All right, I am down with Sprinkles as the commander of our expedition. Sprinkles bounces around the replica. "Oh, wow, this is so cool! You know, I've been training for undercover operations for 7 seasons now, and I feel as though I'm really ready to apply my training into proper field work, you know? So this is definitely really cool and a great opportunity for me. After all, I was second in my class, just a little weak on the tactical acuity sometimes, but I worked through it throughout my entire last semester, and my instructor said, 'Right, well, moving on,' Hank says. 'The animal occupying the torso will be responsible for the movement, physicality, gesticulations, and fine motor control. Successfully emulating the movements and gestures of the offering is pivotal to the success of the mission, and as such we have Slim, a calm, even-tempered beaver with an affinity for water, Fluffy, a dedicated fox with excellent instincts and agility, and Guillermo, a rabbit known for their grace and care under pressure. All right, chat denizens. Denizens? What do you think? Slim, the beaver, Fluffy, the fox, or Guillermo, a rabbit known for their grace and care under pressure? You know, calm rabbits as they are. Got a vote for Fluffy. Anybody else have thoughts? I mean, I'm all for dedicated foxes, especially ones with excellent instincts and agility. All right. Then that's what we'll do. Fluffy bounds up next to Sprinkles and wags their tail as if it needed to be flung from their body at a great speed. Excellent description. Fluffy's heart-churning energy would theoretically prove endearing to someone as perky as Sprinkles, but the two look right through one another. Interesting choice, Sprinkles says, slightly too loud and slightly too sharp. Deborah continues, the next animal we have selected will be responsible for the arms of the replica. This means they will work in concert with Fluffy to ensure Charlie will convincingly be able to pick up and use items as a human child would. In addition, they are in control of all communication with Taiga Central Command, so the Council will be speaking directly to them for the duration of the mission. We have Taft, a chipmunk renowned for their numerous and dangerous operations into human territory. Susan, a squirrel whose delegate status we have reinstated as they possess the fullest understanding of how humans operate. Reinstated. That's going to be a thing. Xylophone, a brave, stalwart mouse in whom we have the utmost faith and confidence. I mean, I'm leaning a little bit towards Susan because clearly something went down with Susan and they had to reinstate her, but I am open to other suggestions if anyone has them. This is the part where I pause awkwardly. All right, I'm going with Susan. The delegates are scandalized. Yes. Them, screams a nuthatch. They betrayed us. They're in league with the humans. They don't belong here. Deborah steps in and slams their hoof troublingly close to where Susan is standing. We understand this decision may be distressing for some delegates, but the fact of the matter is they know more about humans than all of us combined, and that knowledge is imperative to the success of this mission. Susan stares a hole into the nuthatch, and they take a deep, fluttering breath. All right, we've got a couple of animals coming up, so be thinking. Sprinkles and Fluffy stand awkwardly next to Susan, as if Susan bears some horrible pestilence. Finally, Deborah says, we have the legs of the replica. Not only will this animal be responsible for locomotion and lower body control, they are in charge of maintaining the suit's structural integrity and stability. We have chosen Tabloid, the Taiga's favorite weasel who has been following and studying the replica project with great enthusiasm. Sorghum, an agile gopher who scored the highest when it came to piloting the replica. Paul, a stoat who is renowned as the principal engineer of the Offering Replica project. Boy, they whipped this up real fast if they just killed this kid last night. That's some fine, fast engineering going on. All right. Tabloid, the Taiga's favorite weasel. Sorghum, an agile gopher. And Paul, a renowned stoat. J-Mac is interested in Tabloid, which does sound like, I feel like we're putting together like the anti-leverage team. We want a heist team where everyone is completely dysfunctional and no one can work together. So I see Cthulhu Chaotic agrees. We are going Tabloid. The delegates roar and rise up on their various haunches in rapturous applause. Tabloid is here, someone calls above the din. Sure enough, Tabloid swaggers into view, shaking paws and patting animals on the back. Don't worry, folks, they say, charm oozing from them with every step. We're going to take care of this together, won't we? The show firmly stolen, they turn on their paw and pat Sprinkles, Fluffy, and Susan on their backs in turn. Sprinkles nearly bursts out of their feathers. Holy, this can't be. Thank the blessed forest god, I get to share a child's body with Tabloid? Oh my gosh, what did I ever do to deserve this? It's so great to meet you, Tabloid. I followed you. I've practically stalked you since I saw you in Human 2, the humanization. Tabloid smiles. I love that we have an actor. This is great. Tabloid smiles. I thought I'd seen you at the theater, they say. We're going to do great work together. I just know it. Sprinkles melts. Fluffy embraces Tabloid nonchalantly. The two of them clearly know and like one another, but in a manner which suggests they don't want anyone else to know. Tabloid strolls past Susan. Neither of them bother to acknowledge one another's existence. Yeah, I like J-Mac's comment. It's the politically astute choice. So to reiterate, Hank says, our heroic squadron consists of head, Sprinkles, affable and enthusiastic, torso, Fluffy, devoted and energetic, Susan, as arms, the foremost authority on humans, and on legs, Tabloid, flashy and confident. Deborah takes a deep breath as they look at the four up and down. They say, I'm going to go with I think we're all set. I love this group. It's going to be great. Very well, Hank says. The preparations begin immediately. The squad follows Hank. The delegates begin to dissipate into the forest, worry stitched on their faces, when Stumpy howls at everyone to attention. You must buy us time, they say. You must not fail. The taiga will be watching. And I always hate it when the supervisor's right over your shoulder when you're trying to get work done. All right. Dawn breaks. Under normal circumstances, a human child wandering through taiga territory would be greeted by the squawks and shrieks of sentried birds. But with this particular human child, all is still. The fog rolls out, the dewdrops roll in, and the sentries hold their breaths. Sprinkles is perched in the cranial command center. The replica is lurching toward Charlie Stewart's home with the four squad members crammed inside, and morale appears low. Sprinkles, bolstered to say something, says, all right, we're going to war? We're going to fight the humans. Are you folks as excited as I am? Boy, it's so spacious in here, isn't it? Well, I suppose it is for finches like me. Hey, we need to make sure the impudence distributors are recalibrated before we reach the humans. Well, are they? Oh, so do we want an inappropriate we're going to war cheer speech? Do we want Sprinkles to be excited about how much space there is for Sprinkles and nobody else? Or do we want to recalibrate whatever the impudence distributors are? I like all three of these options. I'm leaning a little towards impudence distributors. What y'all think? War, spacious, impudence, Cthulhu chaos, chaotic for spacious. I could be talked into that. That seems like that is a reasonable thing. Let's try it. Ha 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 ha! Tabloid forces out the laughs as if they were indigestion. You know, Sprinks, that is seriously funny. Have you considered comedy? I have, says Sprinkles, flapping their wings in place. I used to be on the Academy comedy team. Well, you certainly can tell. Fluffy and Susan don't agree on much, but they both yell, stop it, simultaneously. Tab and Sprinkles comply, but not before giggling to themselves. Fluffy can barely stand how tight the torso position is, and Sprinkles rubbing it in only makes this worse. They roll around in their spot, as if that would somehow grant more space. And just as a heads up, since there is a little bit of lag between broadcast and chat, if you want to suggest things as they come up, as I am still reading, I will not take that amiss. With their attention diverted toward the difficult task of human locomotion, the squad barely notices the forest begin to thin. Soon, to their unease, they notice a proliferation of human signs, each scrawled with insidious human script. Their forest trails turn into dirt roads. Those dirt roads turn into asphalt roads. The asphalt unsettles Tabloid, whose fair paws have never encountered such uniformity. The sun peeks over the horizon, painting the sky in watermelon and marigold. And most alarmingly, the humans begin to emerge from their dwellings, sunken-eyed, clutching cups of steaming liquid. The humans are watching us, Fluffy says. Human children aren't often in public this early or without parental supervision. We should seek out Charlie's home right away, Susan says. Don't worry, I have everything under control, Sprinkles says. Look, we're coming up on Dundee Road. That's where his house is. 301 Dundee Road, this is it, Sprinkles says. The building located at 301 Dundee Road is what the humans would describe as quaint. Older, two-storied, clad in worn stucco and chipped moss green paint. The garden is large and sprawling. The verdant greenery soothes some of the squad members' jangling nerves. There's a small, angular, two-wheeled personal transportation device splayed on the lawn. Uh-oh, says Sprinkles. There are two doors. We didn't encounter this in basic. Should we go front or back? So do we want to send our totally believable Charlie in the front door, or is totally believable Charlie going to go in via the back? JMac's suggestion is backdoor full ninja. I am on board with that. The replica moves toward the back door, but is foiled by an obstacle. Whoa, says Sprinkles, a gate! They ponder for a split second before blurting, Fluffy, reconnaissance mission, I need alternatives. Or, Susan, proceed with protocol 341.3b, open the gate. Or, Tabloid, engage the climbing subroutine, let's get over it. Are we going to do a reconnaissance mission? Are we going to try to open the gate? Or are we going to climb? There's a lot of pull for me with the idea of climbing, because I'm guessing Tabloid is going to be pants at trying to climb this fence. JMac is suggesting recon, so we could see what kind of alternatives Fluffy might come up with. Cthulhu leans towards the fox. I think we're going to go fox, since that's 2 against 1. Sorry, we're going to climb. Tabloid stretches. All right, sunshine, they say to Sprinkles. Check this out. Tabloid attempts to hurdle over the gate. They think, no, they know, they can accomplish this task with the grace and majesty of a sunset. They can picture the adaptations already. First, the music will swell, something heroic and uplifting. A close-up of Tabloid's face at the controls, stalwart, determined. A voice from somewhere else in the suit, weak and tremulous, screaming, we'll never make it! A perfect leap from 3 different perspectives, maybe in slow motion. Charlie lands, dusts himself off. Tabloid will look at the others and bust out a hot catchphrase. Looks like, this is my leap year, they think. No, wait, that's dumb. Always look before you leap. Yeah, that's the one, they think. Let's do this, they say. Their feet clip the top of the gate, and Charlie faceplants into the ground. One of the things I appreciate about this game and the writing is the comic timing of it and the use of the revealing links so that you have the build-up and then you have the punchline. Like, that is primo. Oh, Forest God! Oh, Forest God! Tabloid screams. Is everyone okay? The replica is pretty scraped up, but every squad member reports in, informing the others that they're okay. However, Tabloid is shaken enough that they struggle to clamber to their feet, which is when the back door opens. A giant bathrobed man steps out of the door clutching a cup of steaming liquid. What are you doing, Charlie? He screams. The bathrobed man peels Charlie off the ground. What did you do to yourself, Charlie? Did you try to climb the fence again at this hour in this light? Comment in the chat room that it is tricky to do slapstick in text, and this nails it. Yeah, this is good. Well, we've also had the new page reveal of the giant bathrobed man with his steaming liquid, and the color change to emphasize it. It's real good. Another bathrobed man steps out of the neighboring house, clutching a cup of steaming liquid. Seems your boy's been pancaked there for some time now, Terry, he says. You saw nothing, Marvin, yells Terry. Come on, Charlie, let's go inside. I found Charlie, Charlie's dad calls out. A bathrobed woman, presumably Charlie's mom, slams her newspaper down. He fell on his face trying to climb the back gate again. Oh, Charlie, I was so worried about you. Mom runs over, crouches down, and gives Charlie a colossal hug. She conducts a full inspection of Charlie, discerning his well-being, before looking him square in the eye. Now, tell me, and be absolutely 100% honest with me, what were you and Martin doing in the woods last night? Sprinkles gulps, then says, these are some good choices. Oh, we were just making all sorts of new wonderful friends. Or, we were just having the best time being all young and free and stuff. Or, why, we were busy saying no to drugs. I like busy saying no to drugs. Like, that is very much what an ordinary human child would say. Being all young and free and stuff is also good. Making all sorts of new wonderful friends. She'll probably be worried about the animals. Busy saying no to drug has that feel of, the hot new breakfast cereal now with no asbestos or guaranteed asbestos free. Like that wasn't a worry, but now I have a worry. So unless chat folks have a strong opinion, we've got a vote for young and free. Give folks another second to decide if they agree. Are you going to young and free or drug free? What are we going for? All right, JMax says, go for it. I'm going to bow to the will of chat and be young and free and stuff. Dad slams down his newspaper and stands up. He starts rifling through a drawer, clattering and throwing junk around. We got to check his pupils, he commands Mom. He's on drugs. I told you we should have said we were not doing drugs. He's not on drugs, Mom says, rolling her eyes. He's 9 years old. They like to get him early, Dad says. He finds what he's looking for, a miniature flashlight, and shines it into Charlie's eyes, then quickly away. The squad is momentarily blinded. I like the idea that they're all looking through the eyes. I guess they're like animal forest cams. Yup, see, big as dinner plates. He's on drugs, Dad says. They're big as dinner plates because you just shined a damn light into it, Mom says. She turns to Charlie. Charlie, honey, to be honest, I don't care what you were doing out there. Just tell me what happened to your cell phone. Our choices, well, when I look back on my life, I want to remember things I did, not things on my phone. Solid. Martin took it and destroyed it. What a silly young thing to do. That's not how pupils work, Mom. No, she's not good at pupils. What's a cell phone? Okay, I love every single one of these options. Like, clearly, what's a cell phone is going to raise eyebrows. Looking back on my life, I want to experience things I did on my phone is also good, solid parent speak. Martin took it and destroyed it. Sounds delightful. By the way, I do like the status over here that Mom is relieved, Dad is suspicious. You are punctual. So we've got JMac suggesting what's a cell phone. We have, this is clearly a parent placating choice from Sam about not things I did on my phone. Let's see if we can placate. I'll get you next time, JMac. Dad peeks over his newspaper. That's right. I raise my children to engage in conversation, to be active members of society, not to be isolated from other human beings. And now Dad is inspired. I think we may be better at being Charlie than Charlie is. Now everyone else be silent while I read my paper. You do that, game Dad. Charlie, can you... Silence, Dad calls. He hums an obnoxious tune as he reads. Dad is appropriately awful. Mom is ready to kill Dad. She gestures with her head for Charlie to go upstairs and get ready for school, or perhaps to leave the room while the killing occurs. This is a game in which a porcupine has already been bludgeoned to death. It might happen. All right, we're going to have 3 doors, so take a look. Charlie stands at the top of the stairs. Before him and the squad are 3 doors, one adorned with a poster of a giant lizard, one with a set of antlers above it, and one with a cross-stitched picture of daylilies hanging from it. Sprinkles bounces excitedly. The dragon! No, the flowers! No, wait, the deer horn! Oh, wow, this is hard. The squad decides to go through the antler door, the daylily door, and the lizard door. All right, one of the things that I appreciate about this game, first of all, the conversation options are all really fun and let you go in a couple of different directions and play with different types of humor. And I like that here we have 3 doors and possible information that we can guess at. We have a vote for the dragon. We have a vote for all these doors are fire hazard, burn them, which is definitely something I would try in a text adventure. So we could guess that maybe the antler door is Dad's decorating, that the lizard door is for a totally human gendered dude, and the daylilies for gendered woman. Antler sounds the most tragic, J-Mac says. I'm kind of going that way as well. Let's try that. Charlie approaches the antler door, creaks it open, and peeks inside. I've got a bad feeling about this, Fluffy says. I thought you were the calm one, Fluffy. But the room seems perfectly fine. The curtains are open, filling the room with a refreshing breeze. The bed is neatly made, topped with a handmade floral quilt, and lying on the floor, a monstrous hell beast snoozes peacefully. Panic grips the squad. A puppy! Screams Susan. Charlie is frozen. The dog raises their head. Chuck, that you? They sniff the air suspiciously. You smell weird, Chuck. I like that puppy doesn't know caps. Doesn't know capital letters. Oh no! Oh no, no, no! Sprinkles says. The dog's guard is up. They raise to their haunches and begin to snarl. What have you done with Chuck? They say. The dog starts to bark. Chuck! You smell like 4 animals of varying sizes and habitats have been stuffed inside you! Chuck! Dog is very perceptive. My beautiful career, Tabloid says, anguished. Snuffed! Sprinkles ponders for a second. We're going to pet it. Kill it with kindness. Run from it. Live to fight another day. Talk to it. Maybe we can reason with it. All 3 of these have the possibility to go completely off rails. I am really torn. Like, there's some good options here. Running from it is, yeah, dog is not smart, but has a very accurate nose. I have a vote for pet it, which that has the benefit of getting us right up in contact with the puppy who can then really smell us. All right, let's try petting it. Role-playing, Chuck, yes. Can you pet the dog in Animalia? The answer is yes. Susan, with great hesitance, stretches Charlie's hands out to pet the dog. Pets! You like pets, don't you? Pet, 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 Charlie says. Again, a normal human response. The dog's snarl grows. I don't know what you did with Chuck, but you're gonna get it, pal, they say. Brace for impact, Sprinkles says. The dog lunges and chomps Charlie's hand. Alarms blare throughout the suit. Sprinkles inadvertently blurts a taiga curse word through Charlie's vocal unit. Mom rushes upstairs. Janie, what have you done? I'm telling you, Ma, there's something wrong with Chuck, Janie says. Mom yells at Janie to stop barking and slams the bedroom door. They usher Charlie to the bathroom. Does it hurt? Mom asks. Ouchie, ouch, ouch! I should be okay for school with a bandage, though, Charlie says, with Sprinkles' trademark inflection. You sure? You're quite the trooper, Charlie. Let me get this taken care of, and then it's off to school. As the squad gets bandaged up and ushered to an idling automobile with backpack in tow, Janie appears in the doorway of Mom and Dad's room. I know you're not Chuck, and I'm going to prove it, Janie says. The squad gulps in fear. Let's go to school. With Charlie safely on his way to school, the squad enjoys a moment's respite. For the first time in hours, there is quiet within the replica. Sweaty paws are wiped. Deep breaths are taken. And in the burgeoning silence, one squad member takes the opportunity to speak to one of their squad mates using the private comm system. They can slide into DMs. This is going to be excellent. So do we want to hear from Sprinkles the Finch, from Fluffy the Rabbit, Susan, I'm forgetting what Susan is now, or Tabloid the Actor Weasel? I lean a little bit towards Susan just because we've not heard much from Susan. We've heard a lot from Tabloid. We hear a lot from Sprinkles because Sprinkles runs the vocal unit. I'd be interested also to see if we get any more information about Susan's clearly tragic backstory of her human loving. All right. Also, I'm starting to get an idea of the amount of lag based on how long it takes. Oh, interesting. Sam comments, this is weirdly one of the most important choices in the game. JMac starts by suggesting Sprinkles, but is willing to give Susan a voice. If this is one of the most important choices in the game, I love that I'm going in blind, that I'm going in with no information, I'm just picking one. All right, I'm doing it. We're going in with Susan. Susan opens a private comm channel. On the switchboard, they choose Sprinkles, Fluffy, Tabloid. Another thing that strikes me about this is the combination of interactions and flavor that this game can pack in, because it has all of these options. You've got the different animals that you pick, and then you have, I'm guessing at every playthrough, you will have this beat where you are headed to school and you have the moment for them to communicate. Again, because I've not heard from them a lot, I think about Fluffy, but I am open to other suggestions. Trying to think what Susan would have to say to Sprinkles, what they would say to Tabloid, or what they would say to Fluffy. Man, I am moving through my water at a clip. Was Tabloid the implied relationship Susan has? Yes. Sam is good with Fluffy. Well, that's a good point. I had forgotten that Tabloid and Susan had that potential implied relationship. But I'm going to stick with Fluffy. The comm channel is open. Susan, thank Forest God, I need to talk to you, Fluffy says. What do you want now, Fluffy? You haven't been exactly the friendliest animal to me, you know. Yes, I know, and I'm sorry, but just hear me out for a second, okay? I don't really know who else to talk to about this. I'm just really suffering in this child suit. It's too tight, and I really don't do well in tight spaces. I don't know. I'm worried I'm going to screw everything up. Susan is taken aback. Oh, okay, well, what exactly do you want me to do about it? I don't know. I just know you've had experience with humans, and this is a weird topic to bring up with other animals because they're so used to confined spaces, but I just hate them so much. I don't know, do the humans have any quick fix for this problem? Yeah, confined spaces. That's surprisingly topical. Susan clucks their tongue. So wait, first you deride my experience with humans and protest with the rest of them, and now you want my help? Give me a break. They shut the line off. Fluffy grumbles. I can understand that, Susan, but that's mean. A light blinks on Susan's console. Uh-oh, they say. They push a button and a familiar grumble is heard over their comm system. This is Hank the Bear. Come in, replica, Hank says. Susan's voice is casual, almost aloof. Hey, boss, they say. Greetings, Susan, Hank says. Status report? It's been all right, Susan says. Nothing too dramatic so far. We've been scraped up, been bandaged up, confronted a dog, and did it all while fitting into human society to the best of our ability, Susan says. Well, that doesn't sound promising at all, Hank says, but listen. Human activity in the outer taiga lands has increased by 34%. I wonder how they measure that. Metal birds driven by spinning propellers have been intercepted by our Eagle Defense Force. The Council believes this activity can only be correlated with the replica mission. You must draw them further away from the taiga at all costs. Susan gulps nervously. I'll pass it on to Sprinkles at once. Forest God be with you, Hank says. The line is shut off. Glad I didn't tell them about the other stuff, Susan thinks. Mom slams on the brake and her vehicle screeches to a halt. She aggressively cranks a lever into its P position and hurriedly gets out of her seat. Hurry up, Charlie! We're late enough as it is! Mom, with a frustrated expression on her face, hustles Charlie into the school and proceeds into a room marked office. Principal Okorafor, Mom says, poking her head through the office door. May I have a word with you? Ooh, Mom's bringing us to the principal. An immaculately dressed man with gentle brown eyes and an infectious smile stands up from his desk and strolls to the doorway. Ah, yes, Janet, he says as he shakes her hand warmly. So good to see you again. And how is our little forest adventurer, Mr. Stewart? Well, that's what I've been meaning to talk to you about, Emerson. She turns away from Charlie and lowers her voice as if masking some dark secret of Charlie's. Can't hear, get closer, Fluffy says. Forget that, Susan says. What was that he said about Charlie being a forest adventurer? Oh no, the forest? Like the taiga? Sprinkles says. So we have to figure out what they're saying, team, or play it cool like we practice in the academy. I think we've got to figure out what they're saying. Like, absolutely. Chat room, if you're going to talk me out of it, now is the time to talk me out of it. Because, I mean, I can imagine sneaking forward and trying to hear, and you can't quite hear, and I think it's going to be a thing. Sam is on Team Eavesdrop, which I appreciate. Cthulhu Chaotic, also on Team Eavesdrop. All right, J-Mac, you in for Team Eavesdrop? Having trouble waiting. Nope, we're eavesdropping. Don't you ever step foot in the forest, either of you, Charlie says. Best humaning. Principal Okorafor and Mom stop speaking and turn towards Charlie slowly. Both hold grave expressions on their faces. See, this is exactly what I was talking about, Mom says through clenched teeth. In a flash, Principal Okorafor's stern countenance flips to a warm, welcoming smile. He crouches down to Charlie's level. Charlie, I can tell you're quite excited about your upcoming school presentation on the taiga biome, he says. Sprinkles says. But that doesn't mean we should forget our evergreen elementary ethics. Excellence, vigor, enthusiasm, respect, growth, respect again, energy, ebullience, and nurturing. What does that spell? Wait, slow down. Does that include the A and again? What about the A and? If it's the former, it spells evergreen, or maybe everagrean? Is that close? Charlie says, with Sprinkles freaking out on the line. Yes, well, Principal Okorafor says, off to class now. He turns to Mom. If you're not busy tonight, perhaps you should come back with Terry, and we can have a meeting about Charlie's behavior and come up with an action plan. All right, once upon a time, I attended a college graduation because I was in the band and I had to play Pomp and Circumstance for about 2 hours constantly. And they had a speaker at that college, and they were doing this acrostic business, and they were spelling the school mascot Tiger. And so for G, he had chosen never give up. So this is excellent. I appreciate this beat. Thank you, that sounds great, Mom says. She puts a hand on the principal's shoulder in gratitude, then turns to leave. Be good, she says again through clenched teeth. We will be best boy. Good morning, class, a tall, severe woman says as Charlie and his classmates find their designated seating positions. Good morning, Mrs. Hoffman, some of the children paired back. Mrs. Hoffman scans the room. She looks, moves, and acts as though she were carved from stone, her plaid shirt tucked tight enough to cut off the circulation to her legs. Her face falls slightly as she lays eyes on Charlie. Charlie, she says, her voice stiff. For once, Sprinkles doesn't seem to have a snappy rejoinder available. They find Charlie's desk and sit in it, eyes forward, back straight. I'm sure you all remembered what today is, Mrs. Hoffman says. Yay! Scream the children. This will be good. Charlie looks from gleeful face to gleeful face. That's right, Miss Hoffman says in a dreadful attempt at matching the children's enthusiasm. We'll be feeding Benji the mouse to Frumpy the snake immediately after luncheon has ended. Oh no! We're going to get some Circle of Life going. I hope there's a chance to rescue Benji the mouse. The children cheer again. Charlie looks to the right side of the room. In a large terrarium, Frumpy, a wall python with a blotchy black and gold pattern, suns themselves on a rock, lifting their head at the cue of the children's cheer. Thank you for your kindness and support, children, they say, perceptible only by the squad, with a flick of the tongue and a flair for the dramatic. At the other end of the room, Benji sprints in their wheel. Farce, goddammit, get me out of here, they scream as they run. Isn't there any animal around that can hear me beside that infernal snake? Come to me, baby, Frumpy says. Frumpy is very frightening. Mrs. Hoffman begins teaching, but Charlie is not available. This is not good, Susan says. We've got to do something. A pause. You bet your butt feathers, Sprinkles says. On me, squad. We got to come up with a plan of action, and we've got to do it fast, Sprinkles says. We got to distract Mrs. Hoffman somehow. But look at those evil eyes, Fluffy says. Agreed, Sprinkles says. And then we'll be able to pop little Benji down our gullet and into the spare storage compartment, Tabloid says, astonished at their own contribution. But we'll have to do that without the kiddies watching. Such a shame. So this is set up like we're going to have a text adventure style parser puzzle to solve. And I like the idea that instead I really want to lean into the skids of being awful at it. So Sam says, never figured out how the tiger critters feel about predation. They do mention the cross-species predation at the council and it being low. And here they don't want the mouse to be eaten by the python, but circle of life. J-Mac wants to know what status does. Let's see. Charlie has been scraped up, has burnt damaged hands. Physical appearance is dreadful, hygiene is abysmal. Mom is horrified, Dad is inspired, the dog Janie is an enemy, Martin is disappointed, while Hannah, who we've not met, is distrustful. Oh, that's nice. We can see all the different ways we can damage the Charlie construct. I guess we should have, prepped for the school day. All right, we have seen all of this before, so I will speed click through it. Okay. It shouldn't be a problem to grab Benji, I think, as long as there's some misdirection for the kids, Susan says. Great! Okay, this is cool. We distract Mrs. Hoffman, entertain the kids, and then swallow Benji, right? The squad agrees. Operation Rescue Benji has commenced. Oh, Sam says I have never solved this sequence. I wonder if it's solvable. Charlie sits in a canary yellow classroom, decorated on all sides with banners and posters espousing positivity, enthusiasm, and respect. The desks in classroom have been organized into rows, and Charlie's desk sits in the middle row, about halfway back from the board, almost the exact center of the class. We won't be able to reach anything from where we sit, Susan says. We'll have to execute our plan after lunch. The sun shines through a couple of windows on the right side of the classroom. Directly underneath one of these windows sits the terrarium of Frumpy the Snake, who waits with bated breath for their delicious rodent treat. Mrs. Hoffman's desk looms ominously at the front of the classroom, laden with marked exams, an immaculate collection of red pens, and framed photos of her pet plants. Martin sits behind Charlie to the left, and Hannah sits in front of Charlie to the right. Opposite the windows, on a table close to the door, Benji the Mouse paces in their steel-caged, newspaper-lined cell. Mrs. Hoffman stands at the front of the classroom, stiff as the whiteboard she scribbles on. She seems to be writing, in excruciating detail, something about Alex Chilton's solo albums. Sprinkles calls everyone to attention. Okay, squad, we don't have a plan for distracting the teacher, and we don't have a plan for distracting the kids. So we can think about how we're going to distract the teacher, think about how we're going to distract the kids, pass a note, raise our hand to speak, ask to use the child washroom. I'm going to click on some of these things and see, can we see Martin? Martin is sitting behind Charlie, so Fluffy has to twist around to get a good look. Martin makes eye contact with Charlie and furrows his brow quizzically. The two stare at each other for a brief moment. Martin makes a, "What do you want from me?" face, and turns back to the lecture. Ooh, Martin seems weirded out. We could pretty easily talk to him, I think, Sprinkles says. All right. Let's look at Hannah. Hannah sits up in a desk at the front of her row. She leans forward, lapping up Mrs. Hoffman's every hiss and whinny, that's not kind, scribbling in her notebook with a wintergreen pen. Hey, let's focus on Hannah for a second. Do any of y'all think she can help in our little plan? Sprinkles says. Oh, no, Fluffy said. You see that look in her face last time? She wasn't having what we were eating, not at all. So it seems like maybe that was supposed to happen after lunch. I feel like there was some of the interaction. Let's check out Benji the Mouse. Benji the Mouse looks skyward for guidance, but can only discern the buzzing of the fluorescent light. Should we do something? Sprinkles said. I am totally going to try to make contact. Charlie turns his head towards Benji's cage and tries with a certain desperation and intensity to make eye contact. But Benji is naturally terrified of humans and refuses to look anywhere near Charlie. Sit up straight, some go-getter behind Charlie says. She has now moved on to the Rousseau Gambit. We're on to chess moves. I need to pay attention to that. I didn't realize these were changing. Let's look at the whiteboard. The squad has very little idea what to make of Mrs. Hoffman's nearly illegible scrawlings on Marxist aesthetics or the history of Fortran or advanced psychocalculus or whatever, but they do notice an ominous footnote to one side of the board. Tomorrow's presentation, Hannah and Charlie on the taiga biome. You have to wonder how long they've been watching, Susan says. Let's see. Oh, she seems to be writing in excruciating detail something about who the dish ran away with. All right, so now we've got a couple of different options about using the child washroom, raising our hand to speak, passing a note, distracting the teacher, distracting the kids. I don't know. Any thoughts, chat denizens? Someday I'm going to learn how to say that word. It's funny, it's not until I'm doing things like this that I realize how many words I don't actually know how to say. It's more than vaguely embarrassing. I've got a vote for note. Any other? Oh, 2 votes for notes, 3 notes. All right, we're passing a note. Yes, J-Mac suggests as to what's his name, Martin, and I agree. Since Hannah does not seem excited about us, we'll pass it to Martin. Yes, let's leverage our pre-existing relationships until they snap. I think that's how pyramid schemes work. Charlie pulls out a pencil and a sheath of paper to begin scrawling a note, but Susan has trouble clutching the pencil with the mitten-like bandages on his hands. Oh no! After a few moments of awkward clutching and arranging, the pencil clatters to the floor. Charlie, Ms. Hoffman yells, cease your fidgeting. All right. So we can't pass a note because we messed up our hands. That stupid Janet dog messed up our hands. Let's think about how we're going to distract the teacher. Oh, consequences, yes. The things we decided to do have come back to haunt us. Oh, I didn't think to see what she was writing about. Something about how to topple the patriarchy. I suppose the details of which were too large to fit into the margins. I'm going to think about how to distract the teacher. Yeah, Sprinkles says. How are we going to do this, squad? Oh, we could, talk to her? Or, I don't know, I've just been lugging around this backpack all day. Or we could just get some kid to throw up or something, Fluffy says. Sprinkles pauses for a moment. Let's try. Discussion, diplomacy, let's talk through this. We packed our backpack for a reason, let's look in there. We gotta create a diversion somehow. Any kids around? This is pointless, let's think of something else. I, again, am going to betray my text adventure background and say we need to look in our backpack. I didn't even know we had a backpack until now, I guess because I didn't think to examine myself. So that's where I lean to. It also lets us see what other kinds of items we might have come into play for this. So let's look in the backpack. Oh boy, Sprinkles says, directing Charlie to look at the backpack hanging on the side of his desk. We're going to show her our... Oh, this would be good. Too much Dora. Toys. Oh yeah, she's going to love us after we show her these, Sprinkles says. All right, all of that seems the same. She's now writing something on World War I era aviation. Okay, squad, we're going to try using the toys in our backpack, and we don't have a plan for distracting the kids. I want to raise our hand to speak. If chat wants to talk me out of this totally reasonable plan I have concocted of trying to speak, I don't know, some of it is, again, wanting to see what's behind these links. I'm also curious about the washroom, I'm not going to lie. We've already got the toy plan in place, so... Think about how we're going to distract the kids, raise our hand to speak, ask to use the child washroom. So the pass a note didn't work. I like Sam's comment, this will go well, raising our hand to speak. I'm leaning into this skid hard. I hope you have something ready to go, Susan says as they wrench on a lever to raise Charlie's arm in the air. Mrs. Hoffman turns on a dime and frowns. Yes, Charlie? Oh, yes, Charlie says. Mrs. Hoffman, your lesson planning is beyond exemplary, and your delivery, wow. We can't feed Benji to the snake regardless of their frumpiness. Aw, poor frumpy Benji. Recite a Taigan poem for our cute little friends. So do we want to try to placate Mrs. Hoffman? Do we want to make a direct plea not to feed Benji to the snake? Do we want to try a Taigan poem, which I'm sure would go over well? And JMax suggests that we use the washroom and take the bandages off, which I will totally try if we loop back around to there. Poetry solves all, suggests Cthulhu Chaotic. Yeah, poems can move the human heart, or I guess in some case, 4 Taigan hearts as well. JMac is also on Team Poem. All right, we're going with the poem. Charlie stands to attention. Again, this is just excellent timing and build up with the link reveals. The kids are freaked out, by the way, as well they should be. Charlie, Mrs. Hoffman says, what are you doing? Charlie, with Sprinkles at the helm, begins reciting a juicy rendition of From the Duff of the Taiga in the original Taigan. Yeah, I'm not doing this. Just pretend that I read all of that part. I would rip my throat out. But it ends with Taiga. Charlie, Mrs. Hoffman says. Zerng, zims, yep, gurng, zwiga, something, Taiga. Okay, I realize I am now trying to analyze the meter and the rhyming structure of this, so I'm just going to click and move on. Charlie, stop this. Zerp, 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 znip, znorp. Enough! An uncharacteristic loss of composure for one Mrs. Hoffman. Charlie, this is unconscionable. Consider yourself branded with a detention strike. Charlie sits down. The children stare at him. Mrs. Hoffman clears her throat. Continuing on, she says. Look, Susan says, I think it worked. Charlie turns to look at Benji. Benji is standing on his hindquarters, gazing at Charlie, eyes wide in excitement. Hey, they whisper in Taigan, I can hear you. I can understand you. Can you come get me? Okay, that actually worked. I am super pleased with that. So Mrs. Hoffman now is writing in excruciating detail something about Carmen Sandiego and her current whereabouts. We don't have a plan for distracting the kids. We're going to go to the washroom, but first I want to look at Benji the mouse. Benji looks in Charlie's direction, peering for clarity, waiting for instructions. For the first time since the squad laid eyes on this poor trapped creature, one can discern a sense of hope flashing across their eyes. This is great! Benji knows we're around, Sprinkles says. Oh, so we have one strike. Oh, one strike. All right. I'm going to ask to use the child washroom. Told you, poetry solves all. Yes, Cthulhu Chaotic. Mrs. Hoffman, Charlie says, I gotta use the human potty. Good specification there. Always want to specify what kind of potty you need to use. Number 1, number 2, or human. The children laugh. Mrs. Hoffman turns and sighs. Yes, Charlie, you may, but be quick about it, for luncheon will soon commence, and you must retain this information, for your future depends on it. I have some thoughts about that. Ooh, spooky, Fluffy says. Charlie screeches his chair back and leaves the room, passing directly by Benji's cage as he does. Benji follows and sniffs Charlie as he passes, straining to make contact. Take me with you, they say. He wanders the hall for a few tense moments before arriving at an ominous door labeled simply, Washroom. This looks confusing, Fluffy says. Indeed, the washroom is large, with a long stretch of private stalls next to a stretch of porcelain wash basins. A laminated and vandalized reminder to turn off the faucet when finished is taped to the wall. Everything smells faintly of bleach or some equivalent chemical that the squad finds extremely unpleasant. No sense just standing here, Sprinkles says. Let's get a poopin'. The squad enters one of the stalls and shuts the door. I'm really pleased that Sprinkles is here. Sprinkles adds a lot. Time passes. What now? Sprinkles says. While the squad thinks it over, someone enters the washroom and occupies the stall next to Charlie. Oh no! Stay calm! All of you! Stay calm! Turn this weird porcelain thing on, or talk loudly. I think we're going to have... Actually, I can't decide if I want to see this absolutely human kid try to operate the toilet or have him talk loudly. Both of these seem like solid, awful decisions. I just want to check status real quick. Martin is disappointed. Hannah is distrustful. We'll go back to the game now. All right, private stall, shuts the door, time passes. Stall next to Charlie, which I can't seem to click right. So are we going to flush? Or are we going to talk loudly? Uh-oh. No thoughts from the chat. Give it another beat. Because if not, I'm talking loudly. Like, the poetry worked really well for us. Surely more talking will help. All right. Here we go. This is so much fun. I'm having so much fun in here, Charlie says. Weird, Tabloid says. Charlie leaves the stall. Washing their hands at the sink is none other than... Sprinkles gasps. It's Principal Okorafor. Principal Okorafor finishes washing his hands and turns to Charlie with a big smile. Charlie, he says, crouching to Charlie's levels. How are you doing today? Unlike Sam's comment in chat, we're real good at flapping our lips and oscillating our throat sinews. Charlie says, are you excited about the snake feeding? Charlie stalls. Well, I mean, I don't really. I think it's not... It seems like you're a little too nervous to watch. Is that true? Oh no. Charlie nods. I think it's stupid. I don't want Benji to die. Principal Okorafor stands up straight. He says. I was wondering if this would be upsetting to some students, but every single one of your classmates, yourself included, were enthusiastic about watching. I do think watching a snake eat a live animal may be inhumane to the mouse. A little speciesist there, but sure. Yeah, Charlie says, that's right. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to our pets, and Frumpy the snake is one of our pets, and we have to provide them with food. Tell you what, I'll talk to Mrs. Hoffman and see about speaking to the class about the various ethical problems we face, and hopefully we can come up with a solution as a group. Does that sound okay to you, Mr. Stewart? Putting a lot on this 6-year-old totally human boy's shoulders. Yeah, Charlie says. So let's continue. All right. Martin, Hannah, Benji the mouse, the whiteboard. She's back to the Rousseau gambit. Okay, squad. We're going to try using the toys in our backpack, and then we're going to hope Principal Okorafor comes to talk to us. All right. Are we ready to wait for lunch? It seems like we've got a plan. I like having Principal Okorafor coming to possibly talk Benji into being saved. I don't think it'll work, but I like the sort of the bank shot of trying to get Principal Okorafor to help us out here. So we've thought about how to distract the teacher. We could think again. We've thought about how to distract the kids, but I really feel like with no additional information about the goodness or badness of any of these choices, we should move on. I suggest to look at Frumpy. Benji the Frumpy mouse. It is the same text as before. Oh no, Frumpy the snake. I'm sorry. Frumpy the snake rests in their terrarium, flicking their tongue in anticipation of their bi-weekly meal. Hope my gullet is ready for the struggle, they say, presumably to themselves. I hope so. Woo! Frumpy, my gullet is ready for the struggle. Try that the next time your friend or partner makes you a meal. I hope my gullet is ready for the struggle. All right, so we've looked at Martin and Hannah. We've looked at Benji the mouse. We've looked at the whiteboard. She's back to Bulgarian participles. We've got a plan. We can't pass a note. We've spoken. I think let's wait for lunch. After an agonizing wait, which included several child disruptions, a Mrs. Hoffman scolding, and several cross-classroom volleys of insults between Frumpy and Benji. Oh, you're not going to tell me them? Oh, Lunch arrives. The kids grab their lunch boxes and rush outside to eat in the sunshine. The children find a nice spot next to their soccer field, form a circle, and begin comparing their various feasts with one another. Charlie sidles up and reluctantly plops down next to them. The children are silent as Charlie approaches. The look on the kids' collective faces is unmistakable. Charlie is simply too freaking weird to tolerate sharing their lunch bounty with him. Charlie sits slightly outside their circle, still in earshot. The children, buzzed on carbohydrates, nut butters, and gummy bears, bound into the classroom and take their seats with furious anticipation. "I trust your luncheon was satisfactory?" Mrs. Hoffman says. "Yes, Mrs. Hoffman," the children retort, bouncing in their seats. "Surely not as satisfactory as watching little Benji be fed to Frumpy the snake." "Yay!" the kids scream. "Very well, but before we begin..." "Watch an expert at work," Sprinkles says. Charlie rifles through his backpack and produces a Fight Man action figure. Aw, I loved Fight Man action figures when I was little. You know, you'd have them wrestle with Evil Boy. "Oh, wow, is that Fight Man?" some kid in the next row says. Charlie shushes them into silence. Quietly, Charlie lifts the action figure's arm and points it at Mrs. Hoffman, whose back is turned as she scribbles on the whiteboard. "Now, children, watch closely as I illustrate Frumpy's cloaca." Nice. Charlie pushes a small button on Fight Man's shoulder. With a click, Fight Man's cartoonish, oversized fist launches across the room over the heads of the studious children and skitters to a halt next to Mrs. Hoffman's foot. The children titter. "What is it, children? Have I mislabeled the duodenum?" Mrs. Hoffman steps on the detached fist. She slips, flops in the air, and lands with a sickening thud on the floor, her head tucked behind her desk. Oh my goodness! "Children, I cannot move. Help me." "Yay!" the children scream. Mrs. Hoffman flounders. "Assist me," she says, waggling a fist. "I swear, if you don't assist me, you'll have detention for life. All of you little pukes." "Never like going against teachers' wishes, but you gotta do what you gotta do," Sprinkles says. Let's continue. "Knock, knock, children." Principal Okorafor pokes his head through the doorway. "Mind if I chat with you for a couple of minutes?" Okorafor enters the room. "Oh, Mrs. Hoffman, you're on the floor. Well, I'll talk to the children for a moment, and then I'll help you up, okay?" Principal Okorafor? Goodness. "I'm extremely uncomfortable," Mrs. Hoffman says. Principal Okorafor faces the class. "So I hear we're about to feed this little mouse Benji to the class snake. Is that correct?" "Yay!" the children scream. Principal Okorafor chuckles. "All right, settle down. I just want you all to think about something for a moment. How would you feel if you were that little mouse, trapped in a cage?" "I bet I'd be pretty tasty," some smart mouth says. The children laugh. Okorafor smiles and turns to the smart-mouthed kid. "Okay, Gurpreet, let's build on this. You're snatched from your home, snatched from your mom and dad and brothers and sisters. You're taken and trapped in a little box, drinking all your water out of a plastic bottle, and the whole time you know that soon you will be killed in order to fuel another living creature. Does that seem fair to you?" Wow, Principal Okorafor is not pulling any punches here. Gurpreet is silent. "But," Okorafor says, a finger in the air, "let's think about Frumpy the snake. We took them from their mom and dad from very far away, shipped them all the way over here, and put them in the cage for our enjoyment. We now have a responsibility to Frumpy the snake to keep them fed, do we not?" The children nod. "So what do we do? It's not fair to Frumpy, and it's not fair to Benji." The children are silent, lost in thought. Thankfully, Charlie came to me earlier today with his concerns, and I agree with his assertion that feeding Benji to Frumpy is inhumane and unfair. Luckily, I went to the pet store at lunch and I bought some snake food. A frozen, already dead mouse. Trolleyproblem.jpg, yes. Well, that's okay. Now we have offloaded, so some other mouse has been killed in Benji's place. Sort of substitution. Atonement of some kind, I guess. "You've got to be kidding me," Frumpy says. This is not a perfect solution because there's another mouse that unfortunately lost their life. Yes. But when we feed Frumpy, I want you all to consider the responsibilities of owning a pet and the ethics of feeding other animals to one another for our enjoyment. Okay, kids? Moral, outsource your murders. Yes, yes. Yes, as Sam pointed out, as long as we're murdering some creature that we've not met and don't have any emotional attachment to, it is A-okay. Circle of life, baby. Okay, they respond. They get up out of their seats and move towards Frumpy's cage. Meanwhile, Charlie sneaks towards Benji's cage. Susan opens the lid to Benji's cage and sinks Charlie's arm in it. Let's see how this goes, Susan says. Susan rifles Charlie's arm around in the cage blindly, but Benji is elusive. You smell like an animal, but what are you trying to do? Benji says, cowering in a corner. Need a little help here, Susan says, straining. Sprinkles whips Charlie's head around for a moment to ensure the coast is clear, and then leans down to cage level. Benji, we're going to get you out of here. Just trust us. I like Cthulhu Chaotic's comment. The mouse could have died of natural causes. Yes, at a farm in upstate New York. Okay, Benji says. Like hypothermia. Okay, good punchline. Benji calms down. Susan successfully maneuvers Charlie's hand to Benji and snatches them up. They turn back to the kids, ensure no one's looking, and then gobble Benji up. Whoa! Benji says. They tumble down Charlie's esophagus and into the spare storage compartment in Charlie's stomach. This is so cool. Is this where my Tigan tax dollars are going? It's a military job. Interesting. For better or for worse, Susan says with a relieved sigh. Come, let's get you cleaned up, Benji. We rescued Benji. Ha! Take that, Sam. Take that. I solved your Benji puzzle. First try. Actually, we solved your Benji puzzle. Charlie trudges through the front door of his house. Ah, my offspring, the apple of my eye, Dad says, hand to his heart. How was your schooling day? Charlie drops his backpack to the floor before responding. Why, it was just peachy, or don't ask me about it. Also notice we now have Susan Benji in the middle there. And if we look at the status, nothing new there. Extremely rude of you to be better at games than me. It sometimes happens. We have collectively defeated Sam. All right, so are we going to say that the day was just peachy, or don't ask me about it? I lean towards don't ask me about it because it seems like it's been a day, and I gotta imagine that Sprinkles has had a day of it. But we can also try to pretend to be the model kid. J-Mac leans towards Peachy. Oh, what was Dad's status? Is Dad is still inspired, so we could play on that. I guess that's why he stood hand to his heart. Okay, just Peachy does seem the safer answer, as Sam has said. We'll go that way. Dad smiles. Is there anything more inspiring to a father than the success of their children, Dad says, tears welling in his eyes. Maybe owning a cool motorcycle. Charlie, and I, doesn't know how to respond to this, so they don't. Don't ask me about it as adulties for ask me about it. No, that's a good point. Mom comes down the stairs, brushing her hair. Charlie, there you are, she says. Eat some dinner. Your father and I have to leave. We're going back to your school to talk to your principal. It's okay. I fixed things up with the principal. But we just came from there. Why are you going back? Charlie says. Cthulhu Chaotic says, my first games were text games like Pyramida 2000. About your behavior, Mom says with a sigh. I wish we didn't have to, but we do. And we're late. She gestures with her head in Dad's direction. I'm coming. Mom walks out to their truck. Be good, son. Their door is shut behind them. So now what? Fluffy says. Let's go home, Sprinkles says. After an hour of trudging, Charlie arrives at the great meeting place, where mere days ago he was unveiled to a skeptical Taiga council. This time, however, Charlie's audience is notably absent. Are we clear? Charlie calls. A shuffling in the bushes. Yes, a voice responds. Hank, Deborah, and Stumpy emerge from the woods. Deborah nods at Stumpy, who nods at Charlie. All right, team, let's stretch our legs, Tabloid says. Oh my gosh, Charlie is steam powered. Steam ejects through a hidden vent around Charlie's calves. Soon, Sprinkles, Fluffy, Susan, and Tabloid emerge from the hatches in the replica. They stretch their legs, crack joints in their necks, lick their wounds. Squad, a word, Hank says, before you get some well-deserved rest. The squad stands at attention. Behind them, Muskrat engineers take the replica away for vital maintenance. Regardless of the other difficulties you experienced during the first leg of the mission, Hank says, their voice rumbling, I was most dismayed to hear of this presentation of the taiga. Children were not normally viewed as threats, but clearly human treachery can extend to any age bracket. Yeah, human kids are awful. I urge you very strongly to produce your presentation on the taiga in a manner which discourages the audience from ever setting foot here. You have a great opportunity to ward them away. Your message is powerful. Use it. Understood, Sprinkles says. Dismissed. Get some rest. The squad stands awkwardly around one another. Okay, it seems like we get 2 hours of rest, so, make the most of it and we'll see you back here soon, Sprinkles says. Sprinkles, Fluffy, Susan, and Tabloid nod to one another and then scatter in their respective directions. Hey, Benji says, what the forest hell am I gonna do? No one seems to have an answer. So do we want to follow Sprinkles or Fluffy or Susan or Tabloid? I've highlighted Fluffy and Susan last go round. Maybe Tabloid? Always good to see what Tabloid is up to and see how he interacts with his adoring fans. The ones who loved Human to the Humaning, or whatever it was. Anybody have a strong desire or feeling about where they should be, which direction we should be going? Give chat a moment to catch up. Sam is down with Tabloid. J-Mac is down with Tabloid. That's enough for me to say Tabloid. We're going to go with Tabloid. A herd of reporter animals rush Tabloid. Tab, a word. Tabloid chuckles, running a paw through their fur. Sure, I got time for a few questions. What's it like inside the replica? Cramped? Hot? Tabloid says with a chuckle. The reporters chuckle along. No, it's good. It's a really sobering experience, But I mean, we've got a great team. We've got great leadership. Obviously, this is not an ideal situation, but we've battled back and I'm happy to make the most of this opportunity. What's it like working with Sprinkles? Great, I thought I came to the mission prepared. I studied the schematics for days. But gosh, they just know the replica inside and out. Their dedication, just so inspiring. I like that this is just as informative as any other interview with a movie star. When are we going to see Death Weasels 3? Laughter from the interviewers. Not sure. Maybe there will be a cameo from Charlie here, they say. Uproarious laughter. Okay, I gotta run. Wish me Forrest luck. Hi again, team. We all here? Sprinkles says. The squad grumbles. They don't say it out loud to one another, but they can all agree. While coming back to the taiga for a brief rest was pleasant, it's significantly more difficult to leave it a second time round. Back in Charlie's bedroom, the squad pilots Charlie onto his bed. Charlie stamps his feet, marches in a circle, and plops down. The squad, exhausted, collapses in their respective control positions and are fast asleep. Sprinkles dreams of the academy, of their final examination. Sprinkles grabs their pen and nestles it within their beak. They read the exam and recognize the question, but their pen has no ink. They raise their wing to get the examiner's attention, but no examiner is present. They look around. The exam room is empty. They wander the halls of the academy, but no animals are present. Sprinkles calls out, but no sound emerges from their beak. Sprinkles wakes with a start. Man, Sprinkles gets stress dreams during the mission. That's so sad. Fluffy dreams of their meadow. They run like the wind, feeling the dewy, silvery grass underneath their paws. They close their eyes, and in their next stride, the earth falls from under them. They are falling, falling, falling. And then Fluffy wakes up, drenched in sweat. Susan dreams of their past. They hop around a human park. As they descend to their tree, bystanders point with great excitement. Look, it's Susan! The human onlookers produce bags of crumbs, cookies, peanuts, and other assorted treats. As Susan approaches, the humans beckon. Dance! 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 While the meaning of the word is unfamiliar to Susan, they do what they always do when they hear it, shuffle their feet back and forth in place. The humans laugh and cheer and dispense their treats. Susan grabs some. Hey, don't feed the squirrels, says a park warden, and the humans disperse. Susan wakes up and looks around, startled. Tabloid dreams of one of their shows. In it, they are in a devastated battlefield, clad shoulder to shoulder in walnut bandoliers. They rush No Animals Land, good catch, shelled in all directions, screaming for the return of their weasel child, held captive behind enemy lines. They rush the enemy trench, casting walnut grenades in their wake. The enemy fortification cannot stand such an onslaught. They discover the swaddled walnut child at one end of the trench and unravel the blanket to reveal a human child instead. Tabloid wakes with a jolt and a yelp. Not a whole lot of good dreams going around here. The squad jolts awake to the sound of Mom barging in Charlie's bedroom, opening his window blinds to let the sunshine in. Come on, Charlie, get up. It's your big presentation day. You can't sleep in today. Mom sets Charlie upright. The squad rubs sleep from their eyes and sit up at their stations, resuming their duties with a grumble. I think we're in for a ruddy good cleaning, squad, Sprinkle says. Indeed, in a flurry, Mom washes, dries, brushes, combs, deodorizes, dresses, and preens Charlie. Come on, Charlie, hop in the car. It's presentation day. Oh dear, Charlie says. The gymnasium is crammed with kids who sit cross-legged on the floor facing a makeshift stage decorated with fake foliage. A hand-painted banner taped to the makeshift stage reads, Earth Week 2018. Teachers line the sides of the gym. Some guard a few of the exits to the parking lot. Others focus on controlling the rows of fidgety kids. Parents lean against the back wall of the gym, clutching paper cups of steaming liquid, joking and laughing with one another. Mom and Dad join the other parents with cheery smiles on their faces as Charlie finds a spot on the end of the row. What an audience, Tabloid says, gleaming. Hannah leans down from the center of the row and grabs Charlie's attention. You had better be ready for the presentation, Charlie, she says. The kids around her laugh at the potential strife. She rolls her eyes and turns forward. Hello, children, parents, faculty, well-wishers, Principal Okorafor says, taking the podium. I'd just like to thank you all for joining us for our Earth Week celebrations. At Evergreen Elementary, it's so important for us to stay connected to nature, and that's why we're so proud to share what we've been working on with you all. Charlie turns around and makes eye contact with Mom, who gives an excited wave and a nervous smile. Dad looks at the basketball hoop above his head. Oh, Dad. With that, I'm very excited to introduce to the stage Hannah Kiyama and Charlie Stewart for their presentation on the taiga biome. Tabloid gonna own this, J-Mac says. Seems likely. Rapturous applause. Charlie and Hannah stand up. Here we go, Sprinkle says. Hannah and Charlie take the podium. Thank you, Principal Okorafor, Hannah says, a waver in her voice. She clears her throat. The taiga biome is the biggest biome on Earth. It is? Fluffy says to himself, astonished. It is also known as a boreal forest. There are a significant number of trees, and it is very cold. Hannah nudges Charlie. Yeah, so cold that bears have to hibernate, which means that they go to sleep for a long time. It also means that other animals have to be in charge for the winter. It means that bears save energy this way, Charlie says. Good catch. Hannah, pleasantly surprised, continues, Yeah, that's right. And speaking of that... Susan, you gotta help me, Fluffy says over the comm channel. It's too tight in here. Yes. What do you expect me to do about it, Fluffy? Susan says. I can't magically make more space for you. I know, but I don't know, maybe you can leave for a bit so I can stretch my paws? We're not really doing anything right now. Oh, this is a good idea. Fluffy, we're standing in front of hundreds of humans. What do you think would happen if Charlie were suddenly to have a squirrel in his possession? I bet they'd think it'd be pretty cool, Fluffy says. Come on. No. Come on. No. Come on. A tear opens in Charlie's stomach. A fox flops out of the tear and lands on the gym floor with a thud. Ow, Fluffy says. The children scream. The teachers scream. Mom screams. Let me guess what's going to happen with Dad. Dad faints. This sucks, Fluffy says, but at least I'm free. Fluffy sprints around the gym in a wide circle, children screaming and fleeing in their wake. Sprinkles tries to move, but without Fluffy, the replica is unresponsive. Abandon ship, Sprinkles says. Sprinkles explodes through an escape hatch in Charlie's skull and flies around the gym rafters, trying to find a way out. Susan scrabbles at the gym door exit, hoping to escape out to their city park to regain their human entertainer celebrity status. Benji follows Susan. Tabloid attempts to charm the sizable audience in front of them until a teacher throws their jacket over Tabloid and scoops them up. I'm sorry, Tabloid. You gotta know your crowd. In the middle of the chaos, Mrs. Hoffman's eyes narrow. I knew it, she says. This story has ended. Oh my goodness. That was tremendous, tremendous fun. I loved that a lot. It was so well written and so well timed. There's so much that we can go back and do. I'm pleased we saved Benji. I will keep that as an accomplishment and hug that to my heart forevermore. And with that, then I will go ahead and sign off. Thanks everybody in chat for showing up and helping me work through this. I'm really pleased with how it went. That was a whole lot of fun. I'm going to be playing this some more. And JMac points out, we only got one detention. That was a pretty good run through. So everyone in chat, thanks for coming. Everyone watching this after the fact, thank you for watching. And we'll do this again next week.